We all know that responsive gameplay is the holy grail for PC gamers, with lower input lag promising a more immediate and competitive experience overall. Technologies like NVIDIA Reflex, AMD Anti-Lag, and even good old Riva Tuner statistics server claim to take things to the next level, potentially changing the game for PC gamers. But are these technologies really must-have features for your next gaming setup, or are they just more buzzwords that marketing likes to throw around? These aren't just simple frame limiting techniques, they're advanced technologies and tools designed to reduce input lag across thousands of games. This could be a pretty big deal for those looking to get every competitive edge, offering a way to make both older and newer titles feel more responsive overall. In this video, we're going to deep dive into the world of input latency, exploring exactly what it is, how it affects your gaming experience, and most importantly, whether these latency reduction technologies and tools are actually worth considering for your setup. We'll look at the requirements, their impact on responsiveness and performance, and even attempt to peek into the future potential for how they could be improved. So whether you're a hardcore competitive gamer or just someone who appreciates snappy controls, stick around as we unpack everything you need to know about minimizing latency in PC games. But before we get into that, here's a quick word from this video's sponsor. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of latency reduction techniques, let's take a quick look at what input latency actually is. Input latency, often referred to as input lag, is the delay between when you perform an action, like clicking your mouse, and when you see the result of that action on your screen. The goal is to minimize this delay as much as possible, providing a more immediate and responsive gaming experience, especially in fast-paced competitive games where every millisecond counts. Traditional latency reduction techniques have been around for a while, often focusing on things like VSync options and frame rate caps. However, these methods often introduce their own issues, like screen tearing or reduced performance. And the push for lower latency in PC gaming really has kicked itself into high gear with the rise of esports and competitive gaming, where even the slightest delay can mean a huge difference between victory and then, of course, the thing that you don't want, defeat. But here's where modern latency reduction technologies differ. Unlike simple frame limiting or VSync tweaks of the past, today's solutions like NVIDIA's Reflex, AMD's Anti-Lag, and Riva Tuner statistics server offer a more comprehensive approach. These technologies aim to optimize the entire rendering pipeline, from input processing to frame presentation, potentially providing a more holistic solution to input lag. Now, we have tools like RTSS that give us unprecedented control over frame pacing and monitoring, so at least we have something without, relying on NVIDIA or AMD too much. Following Blurbuster's recommendations, you can use RTSS to cap your frame rate 2 to 3 frames below your monitor's maximum refresh rate for monitors which have VRR support. This achieves more consistent frame times, leading to smoother gameplay and potentially lower input lag. Now, if you do want to rely on the brands, for NVIDIA users, it's recommended to set up NVIDIA Reflex inside RTSS's frame limiter options rather than using the async limiter. These technologies work best in tandem. For instance, you should force VSync on when using G-Sync or FreeSync, as this works in conjunction with RTSS and NVIDIA's Reflex injection method. It's not just about raw FPS numbers anymore. It's about consistency and stability in frame delivery. The result is a suite of technologies and tools that promises to reduce input lag across a vast library of games, potentially making your entire gaming experience feel just more responsive and more immediate. It's a unique approach that addresses the limitations of previous methods, offering the best of both worlds. The tear-free experience of VSync with the responsiveness that gamers actually demand. Historically, VSync was the go-to method for eliminating screen tearing, but it came with a significant trade-off: increased input lag. This was particularly problematic for competitive gamers who needed every millisecond advantage that they could actually get. Then the introduction of G-Sync and FreeSync technologies marked a bit of a turning point, allowing for tear-free gaming without the latency penalty of traditional V-Sync. Now, these variable refresh rate technologies, or VRR, they do come with their own set of requirements. Monitors have a specific range within which VRR can actually operate, typically defined by a minimum and maximum frame rate. If your game's frame rate falls outside this range, simply put, VRR disengages, which can cause the monitor to flash intermittently, which, well, isn't exactly ideal for a smooth gaming experience. This is where forcing VSync on becomes pretty much crucial. By enabling VSync in conjunction with G-Sync or FreeSync, you can ensure that your frame rate stays within the VRR range, preventing those annoying flashes and maintaining a tear-free and also low latency experience. Now, you might be wondering what you need to actually use these latency reduction technologies. Well, for NVIDIA Reflex, you need a GeForce GTX 900 series or newer GPU, while AMD Anti-Lag is supported on a wide range of Radeon GPUs. RTSS, being a software solution, is compatible with, well, virtually any modern GPU. And on the software side, you'll need to just simply be running the latest graphics driver. And for the best results with Reflex or Anti-Lag, you'll want to use games that have integrated support for these technologies. As for game support, both NVIDIA Reflex and AMD Anti-Lag work across a lot of games, with a particular focus on competitive titles where low latency is crucial. This includes popular esports games like Valorant, Fortnite and Apex Legends, which typically is where you want to reduce input lag anyway. RTSS, on the other hand, can be used with, well, practically any game, giving you a universal tool for frame rate control and also monitoring. They both kind of go hand in hand because you need to see what's going on, but also understand what's going on. It's also worth noting that these latency reduction technologies can often be used in conjunction with each other and with other performance enhancing features. For example, you could use NVIDIA Reflex alongside RTSS, with RTSS providing detailed monitoring of your system's performance while Reflex works to reduce the latency. Or you could combine AMD Anti-Lag with RTSS's frame limiting for fine-tuned control over your gaming experience. Now, one thing to keep in mind, while these technologies can significantly reduce input lag, they're not magic bullets. The actual impact you'll see depends on a variety of factors, including, well, your hardware, the specific game you're playing, and even your personal sensitivity to input lag. This is because not all monitors are built equal, with some having higher input latency, grey to grey, from one another, with OLED monitors being the best in this department, and luckily they are actually coming down in price and becoming, well, more mainstream, should we say. Now, one of the most significant considerations when it comes to latency reduction is how it affects different types of games. In fast-paced shooters like Counter-Strike or Valorant, even a few milliseconds of reduced input lag can make a noticeable difference in your ability to react and aim accurately. These games often require split-second decisions and precise mouse movements, so every bit of reduced latency can give you a competitive edge over the competition. On the other hand, in strategy games or RPGs, the benefits might be less pronounced, but can still contribute to a more responsive feel overall. While you're not necessarily relying on twitch reflexes in these genres, lower latency can make the game feel more immediate and engaging, improving how you interact with the game overall. Now, when it comes to MOBAs or multiplayer online battle arenas like League of Legends or Dota 2, the importance of latency reduction falls, I guess, somewhere in the middle. These games require a mix of strategic thinking and also quick reactions. While you're not constantly aiming and shooting like you would be in a FPS game, there are moments where split-second decisions and rapid mouse clicks can make the difference between victory and defeat. Reduced input lag can help you last hit minions more accurately, react to ganks faster, or land crucial skill shots in teamfights. So while it might not be as critical as in a competitive shooter, latency reduction can still provide a tangible benefit in MOBAs. Racing games present an interesting case. In sim racing games like iRacing or Assetto Corsa, where precision and timing are crucial, reduced input lag can significantly improve your performance. It can help you brake at exactly the right moment, hit apexes more accurately, and respond to other cars on the track more quickly. However, in more arcade-style racing games, the benefits might be less noticeable. as these games often have more forgiving physics and timing windows. Now, in terms of monitors and refresh rates, let's talk about the famous UFO test from Blurbusters. This test is what I would class as an excellent tool for visualizing motion clarity at different refresh rates. When you run the UFO test, you'll see a series of UFOs moving across your screen at different speeds, representing different refresh rates. At lower refresh rates, like 60 Hz, you'll notice the UFO appears blurry and leaves a trail. As you then increase the refresh rate to 144 Hz or even 240, the UFO becomes much clearer and the trail diminishes. This demonstrates how the higher the refresh rate is of a monitor, the less delay there is between frames, and as such, a person is able to perceive motion in a clearer way. The test shows why higher refresh rates are so important for reducing perceived latency and improving motion clarity. The smoother motion not only looks better, but also allows you to track moving objects more easily in games, which can indirectly improve your reaction times. It's not just about the numbers, it's about the real visible difference in motion quality. Now, looking to the future, we can expect to see continued refinement and improvement of these latency reduction technologies. As games become more demanding and competitive gaming continues to grow, the push for ever lower input lag is likely to increase. We might see even more sophisticated algorithms for predicting and reducing latency, one of those being the recently released Anti-Lag 2 by AMD, or perhaps new hardware innovations specifically designed to minimize input lag at every stage of the pipeline. Tools like RTSS will likely evolve too, offering even more detailed insights into our system's performance. So the big question, are these latency reduction technologies and tools actually worth it? Well, in all honesty, that depends on your gaming preferences, your setup, and also your expectations. For competitive gamers or anyone who plays fast-paced games, the benefits can be significant and noticeable. However, for more casual gamers or those who primarily play slower-paced games, the improvements might be less pronounced. On the one hand, they include potential reductions in input lag, improved responsiveness in competitive games, and often minimal impact on overall system performance. Many of these features can also be easily toggled on and off, allowing you to find the right balance for each game that you play. And with tools like RTSS, you have the power to monitor and then, of course, fine-tune your setup to your heart's content. However, there are some cons to consider. The effectiveness can vary greatly between games and hardware configurations. In some cases, extreme latency reduction settings might introduce visual artifacts or affect frame pacing. There's also the consideration that at a certain point, further reductions in latency might not be perceptible to most users. There's also the caveat that using RTSS in games which have support for NVIDIA Reflex can actually introduce more latency than normal, meaning for games which have this, you must manually switch this off within RTSS. Ultimately, whether these latency reduction technologies and tools are worth it for you will depend on your specific gaming habits, the types of games that you play, and you yourself and your sensitivity to input lag. Given that many of these features are included as part of a standard graphics driver or game settings, and the fact that RTSS is free to use, well, there's little downside to giving them a try if you have compatible hardware and haven't maybe used it before. However, don't expect them to be magic solutions that will instantly make you a better gamer. I nearly fell for that one. They're tools that can enhance your experience, but skill and practice still reign supreme. So if you don't have that, well, yeah, just keep practicing. So there you go. That's going to wrap this one up. Hopefully you enjoyed this deep dive into latency reduction technologies and techniques for PC gaming. If you did, a like and a sub to the channel would be amazing. And if you love what we do, consider supporting us over on Patreon, where you'll get access to a whole host of goodies, including behind the scenes content, access to our testing data, bi-weekly game nights, meetups at the eTeknix offices, and much, much more. The link is, as always, down below. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to experiment with these things if you have the compatible hardware yourself. Maybe you could find an even better configuration than the one that we've laid out in this video. So in all honesty, it's best to give them a try. For now, I'll see you in the next one. See you later, guys.